on the horizon. It's been said that those that have the eyes to see and the ears to hear will play a paramount role in the furthering of humanity and civilized society. But can civilized society and humanity survive the coming conflicts not seen since a dawn of time in ages bypast? But you can find true forms of information and knowledge in abundance at revolution.radio, freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the globe. Stand upon the right side of history.
General Homer, you've got to get us out of here now! I won't let you down. I won't let you down, son.
Revolution.
And good morning. Welcome to Morning Coffee Rants with Dan. I am the spiritual anarchist, Dan, your host. Today is June 25th in the year of all of us, 2026, the year of all of us, because we are all fragments of God. I had a good show planned out for today. I actually made this show up on Monday. One of those days where you sometimes, man, you don't feel like doing it. You don't feel like doing it. I wonder if anyone's listening. You know, are you bored enough to listen to something for 50 to 55 minutes? Can I hook you in the first 30 seconds to get you to listen a little bit longer? So do I have to say something outrageous, or could I be really putting some truth out there? The last show was talking about the Gnostics and the Gnostic texts, and I found that to be a synchronistic thing because it's going to help me lead off this show with something I wanted to lead it off with, which is a couple of things in the Gnostic texts. And they are, Jesus said, "Seek and you will find. Yet I say to you, you do not seek." Jesus said, "Let him who seeks continue seeking until he finds. When he finds, he will be troubled. When he becomes troubled, he will be astonished, and he will rule over thee all." Why aren't you seeking? I think we're very bored. I think we don't want to be bored. We're afraid of boredom, is what I really meant to say. What I'm going to talk about today is all the distractions, all the distraction-tainment, all the noise, all the static that we get out there. and what keeps people from actually seeing the truth or researching to see what is really happening in the world with the things that are going on, and why don't more people speak up and speak out and try to help one another. On a small level, I see a lot of help going on. I could only imagine that as if I was to be able to just leave my body and look out all over the place, there's probably a lot more goodness going on than what the news will lead you to believe, but they're never going to tell you about that stuff, because if it doesn't bleed, it doesn't read. So today, you can find the bulk of my work at YouTube at Spiritual Anarchist Daniel AR 5907. I'm also on the onegreatnetwork.com/Dan-Arnold. And I'm just going to jump right into this today because it's actually a lot. Simple concept, but it's actually a lot. You see, there are so many distractionary things that are being leveled at society as a whole to keep us from real in-person connection. Social media, smartphones, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. Get that like. Get that hit of dopamine. Online corn with a P. Not to mention Facebook, where the powers that pretend, they rely on Facebook activism. The powers that pretend to be, they rely on our Facebook activism, because then we fool our psyche that we just did something about the authoritarian encroachments, that very little is really being done for improvement. We feel like we did something by posting our opinion against this or against that. And in most cases, it's mind-controlled, parroting opinions and not truth to begin with. See, you gotta allow yourself to become bored. You have to allow yourself to become bored. Earlier this week, I really enjoyed myself being bored. Because when you're bored, you can sit there and allow your mind to start thinking about different concepts because you're bored. You're not in your phone. You can allow your consciousness to expand. You know, before the fall of Rome, they had a saying that free bread in circuses. And the circuses were the gladiatorial games. And they were for distractions. And the rulers at that time enjoyed it as well as the masses. And the recent UFC at a certain public venue in the last couple of weeks comes to my mind. See, a distracted mind cannot fathom what is being done around it. It cannot solve problems, and even worse, it does not even want to. So this morning, what I really want to talk about is something that's right in front of all of us. It's not hidden. It's not secret. It's not coded. But it is constant and so loud and so normal that most people can't even see it anymore. We are living in an age of the distracted mind. There is no Mushin. See, a distracted mind is different from Mushin. Mushin is a Japanese concept that means no mind. You're bored, stay bored. Everywhere you look, something is pulling for your attention. Your phone vibrates, your feed updates, your apps refresh, your notifications multiply. Your mind gets stretched thinner and thinner until it can't hold a thought long enough to ask the most important question a human being can ask. What is actually happening to me? What is actually happening to us? Because distraction isn't just entertainment. It's not just convenience. It's not just technology evolving. Distraction has become a condition. It's a neurological condition, and it's shaping the way we think, the way we feel, and the way we connect, and the way we live. I literally can get a text from somebody, and I've been wanting to talk to them. They text me, maybe an I love you or something along those lines. okay, if it's a family member or something, call them back, and they'll sit there and just watch the phone ring because they got 3 other things going on, and they would rather, if you can't focus in on one thing, it's taking away the human connection, the human factor. And here's the thing or the part that I don't think nobody is actually saying, and they don't want to say out loud. I think, in fact, many people are, but it's not getting through, is a distracted population is easier to steer and control than a focused one. And this is why they throw fear porn at you. The more in fear you are, the easier you are to control. So when your attention is so divided or fractured, you stop noticing the world around you. When your nervous system is overstimulated, you stop caring about the things that matter. And when your mind is exhausted, you stop resisting anything at all. And they want you exhausted. Our whole society is set up that way. And this is how we lose our sovereignty. And it's not through force, it's through fatigue. They wear you down. And I honestly was feeling that myself this morning. Again, I see something that I posted in 2023. I listened to who's talking before me, and I'm like, wow, this is a sign. Let's talk about it, because I already had the Gnostic text quote that I wanted to say, and here I listened to somebody else who was talking about the Gnostic text. I took that as a universe saying, yeah, don't not do the show today. You're getting tired, but keep going. So we've traded actual human presence for stimulation. We've traded community for screens. We've traded meaning for novelty. We've traded connection for convenience. Okay, the instant gratification era, coming off of the era of everybody gets a trophy, regardless of how good you do or don't do. And the result is an epidemic of loneliness. That's the true pandemic, and it's been like this since easily 2012, 13, 14. This is going back 12, 15 years. The real pandemic is the epidemic of loneliness, so deep that people don't even fight it anymore. They just scroll through it, they numb through it, they distract themselves from the very thing that's killing them. And that's lack of connection, lack of human connection, lack of human touch. But here's the truth. Human beings were not built for constant stimulation. We were built for a rhythm. We were built for silence at times. It's about balance. We were also built for connection, real connection, the kind that happens in shared spaces, with shared breaths, with shared presence. And when we lose that, we lose ourselves. Slowly, it starts to happen. With that being said, can you be alone? Can you be by yourself? Can you be bored? If you can't be by yourself and know yourself, you won't be able to be with anyone else correctly or authentically. So like this morning, I'm not here to blame technology. In fact, I think AI is a good tool at times. I think it's a problem with AI is the same thing with social media and other things. It's used as an intelligent gathering mechanism, which is why they want to put up these surveillance centers that gather everyone's information. Okay, they're not data centers, they're surveillance centers. But it could be used as a good tool. But here's something simple and ancient. Your attention is your answer. Where your attention goes, your life goes. Okay, where your attention goes, energy flows. That's from my friend Sonia. I heard that from her, and I've heard it from a lot of other people since, but thank you, Sonia. Where your attention goes, your sovereignty goes. Okay? If your attention is not there, sovereignty also goes, but not the way you want it to. So what are you giving your attention to? I'm not saying I don't like to be entertained or watch a funny video, or a lot of times I'm watching very educational videos or reading or doing other things. But if you're constantly just on a 2-minute TikTok video, what are you going to really learn about what's going on? If you don't control your attention and where it goes, someone else will, and they've done a good job at doing that. So this morning we're going to break this down. We're going to talk about the neuroscience of distraction. We're going to, and I'm self-studied. It's not hard to do. We have the most powerful tool that the apocalypse has provided, which is the lifting of the veil. Knowledge is available. Even Google can give you good knowledge. We want to talk about the neuroscience of distraction, what it does to your brain. We're going to talk about natural law, what distraction does to your moral compass. We're going to talk about authoritarian systems and how overstimulation becomes a tool of control. And most importantly, we're going to talk about how you can build a sovereign nervous system, one that cannot be hijacked, manipulated, or numbed. Numbed is the big one because that's what they're counting on. Because the world doesn't need more distracted people. It needs more awake people and not woke. Awake. More present people, more grounded people, and more people who know they're sovereign. Because freedom is your birthright. The Constitution is a contract I'm not a party to. I wasn't alive when that thing was made. I didn't sign it. However, there are some things in it that they had some good ideas with. But that said, I'd wipe my ass with it because I don't need some man. I'm going to scribble down your rights because I'm a man. I'm going to scribble down your rights, and I'm a man. I'm going to give you these rights to another man. I, a human being, say these are your rights. Here you go. No, my rights are known. My birthrights are freedom, the right to self-defense, and the right to pursuit of happiness. My rights are not anything that involves the initiation of harm to anyone else in any way, including taking away the sovereignty and freedom of the individual for some lied about perceived societal danger. Okay, the biggest societal danger we have right now is all the governments of the world working together for something bigger, for something else, to basically murder us all and get us down to a much smaller population. People who can think clearly, people who can feel deeply, people who can connect authentically, people who can act with intention. It involves keeping your word, which is why I did the radio show this morning. That's why I'm talking. I've made a commitment to do this, and I'm doing it. If someone says, trust me, believe in me, and you let them move in with you, and then they screw you over and do a bunch of stuff, when you have to move and they can't handle it, that's just a small example of not being authentic and people not keeping their word. Basically what I'm getting is people need to remember who the fuck we are. So if you're listening right now, really listen. Don't half listen. Don't be half scrolling, half distracted. Don't be doom scrolling, half present. Because then you're already doing, if you are listening so far up to this point, you're already doing something very rare. You're reclaiming your attention, and that is the first step to regaining your sovereignty. So, to be real concise about this, I could sum up the whole radio show that I got planned today is a distracted population cannot perceive, cannot connect, nor can it resist in any meaningful way. Distraction is not an accident. It's a strategy of fragmentation. A fragmented psyche is easy to steer. Rome used bread in circuses. Okay, modern day uses infinite scrolling for dopamine loops. Okay, corn with a P as a substitute for intimacy. I talked about how I had a problem with that at one time. I don't now. Social media as a substitute for community. Got a problem with that. Okay? Outrage cycles as a substitute for actual meaning. Digital activism. I see that. Facebook activists as a substitute for real world, real life action. Give the masses stimulation instead of participation. So when our psyche is overstimulated, it loses the ability to track patterns or sense danger or feel any type of responsibility or empathy. It becomes passive. I see more apathy in the world now, and it's disheartening to see this kind of apathy. People are losing themselves. Okay, a distracted mind doesn't just fail to resist, it forgets that resistance is even an option. Again, this is nonviolence. Violence isn't the answer. We have to change the hearts and minds of people. So distraction, and this is like number 2 on my list, distraction destroys the 3 capacities required for sovereignty. A sovereign human being needs attention to see what's happening, discernment to understand what it means, and will to act upon that understanding once you've deciphered what the hell they're doing. And distraction attacks all 3. Your attention is hijacked by novelty. Discernment is basically drowned out in all the noise. This is why they keep your head on a swivel. Your will becomes weakened by constant micro dopamine hits. You start to rely on it. A person who cannot hold attention cannot hold a boundary. And I got to tell you something. You need to know how to set a boundary to understand somebody's intentions. You need to understand intent. You set the boundary. When the boundary's crossed, you can pretty much discern the intent. But if you don't know how to set a boundary or have attention to what's going on, you'll never be able to know anyone's intent. Okay. Digital connection is engineered to replace real connection. All right, this is number 3. Real human connection requires presence, many times vulnerability, shared physical space, nervous system co-regulation, but I wouldn't even call it co-regulation. I would call it seeing the validation for your emotions in someone else's eyes. You lose that when you're on a 2D screen. And then accountability. And digital connection requires none of these. It will give you the illusion of community without any community or without any responsibility to that community. That's why Facebook activism feels like it's doing nothing. It satisfies that emotional need for participation, get that hit of dopamine, I did something, while producing no real world change, or even attempting to put your voice and your face out there in some kind of way. To say, no, I don't consent, we're not having this. It really is a psychological sleight of hand. A distracted society, number 4, becomes governable by spectacle. What was I just talking about? Free bread and circuses. When people lose the ability to think deeply, they become governed by emotion, outrage, entertainment, tribal identity, or whatever the algorithms are. And this is why the UFC celebrity drama, political theater, viral trends will dominate people's attentions. They are rituals of distraction. The modern gladiatorial games. People go nuts over their football team losing, but they don't care about pedophiles eating children. They don't care about, the left and right paradigm. The left will say, oh, the right's this, and then the right will say, oh, the left isn't releasing this. Neither of them are. They're on the same side. It's all government. They're on the same side, folks. So what ends up happening in these gladiatorial games is the masses get the spectacle and the rulers get the silence they want from the masses. And then that silence, in that silence, power consolidates. And then the deeper danger that I see is a distracted person stops wanting to even know. People stay in cognizant dissonance. They don't want to know the truth. You even start to tell them the truth. They get mad at you because you're not hiding like a coward behind the same gaslight that they are, because deep down, many know the truth. But I can't tell people what they know. It's just I can tell them that this whole time, they have had to know something just isn't right, right? Something smells rotten in Denmark. And not wanting to know, or actually being mad because you pointed out to them. And this is number 5. This is the final stage. It's not ignorance. It's not deception. The deception has already worked. Their ignorance, they're ignoring it, and they really are just apathetic. A person's brain, the psyche, If it's constantly overstimulated, it becomes exhausted, and an exhausted psyche seeks comfort, not truth. And once a person prefers comfort over truth, they will defend their own chains. And many of them would rather die than to actually admit the truth, or to say those, 5 words, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Or wow, I was bamboozled, hoodwinked. It's okay. These are people who specialize in lying to you and getting you to believe it. They're like lawyers, car salesmen, politicians. They all go through the same psychology classes to make the sell. And number 6 is people who feel the disconnect. Like I'm one of them, right? And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who feel the disconnect. And it's because we're not fragmented. Our nervous systems are trained. We get out of our minds and into our body through yoga, through presence, through allowing ourselves to be bored, through trusting our lived experiences and not letting ourselves be gaslit, and we stay coherent. Okay, we see patterns that others can't because our attention hasn't been hijacked. We're not distracted. I wrote down here, we're not dumb, but I'll leave that part out. Well, I guess I just didn't. Okay, so what it is we're not dependent on that dopamine economy anymore. And that was the thing about other bad habits that you can get online. You want that dopamine hit. Well, once you get by all that, and you're only going to get by that through truth, you only get through shame. The only way you're going to ever overcome shame is straight through truth. It's the only way to do it. Shame is a weapon that they use against you. They'll try to shame you for not taking a forced shot that's killing thousands of people. If that's the goofiness that's going on for community, I don't want to fit in. Okay? So when you start to see the circus for what it is, it will end up inevitably, it will create like a sense of distance. And then when I say that, I don't mean superiority, just a sense of distance. Because anywhere you're at, people are too distracted to actually talk about anything that means anything deeper than what their political identity is, than what their ego traumas are. This is why people later on in life, if they're in their 40s or even 50s, they're not going to find new relationships. They're dragging their old traumas along with them. Our ego seeks to keep us safe from that kind of stuff. At the same time, with some of us, we're able to pick up on stuff much quicker and end things much sooner with real red flags. So number 7, the antidote is not to fight distraction. It's to become immune to the distraction. Decide consciously when you're going to allow yourself to be distracted and give yourself a time limit maybe. Okay? A sovereign human being doesn't need to avoid the circus. They simply don't allow themselves to become hypnotized by it. And the antidotes to it are presence, embodied real-life connection and community, getting out in nature, having a purpose in life, some kind of purpose. Silence, stay silent, allow yourself to be bored, and then whatever you're going to give your attention to, make it disciplined attention. I have a point of time towards the evening. It's not exactly nighttime out, but I'll allow myself to watch something from Marvel Comics, like Daredevil, or the new Punisher show, or whatever. Doesn't matter. I get into science fiction fantasies. I've read thousands and thousands of comic books in my life. I was a comic book geek as a kid. My mom, God rest her soul, she was my Google. When there was a word in the comic book I was reading, I didn't know what it meant, I went to her and asked her. She always knew. And comic books for me was the gateway to literacy. Any reading is going to make you a smarter person. But having these disciplines, this presence, embodied connection, real community, getting out in nature, purpose, knowing when silence is good, and having disciplined attention, these help to restore your system to a state where you can actually perceive reality again. And once that perception returns, sovereignty will follow. Hey, indeed, loneliness is an epidemic, but don't be afraid to be lonely and get to know yourself. So the neuroscience of distraction, and this is very short. Okay, I'm not some neurologist, but I worked with a lot of them. I did security for them when I worked in a government facility, and I would talk to them constantly. And this is, we're going to get into the first thing that, you know, on how our psyche has been neurologically hijacked, and by all the modern platforms. They are engineered to target these systems in the brain, okay? Number one is the dopamine loop. Every notification, think of a Facebook notification, or your phone goes off and you're getting a text right after it rang and you just stared at it. Okay? Every notification, every like on something, every video clip triggered is a micro burst of dopamine. And it takes more and more to satisfy, just enough to keep you seeking that next hit. This is electronic crack. This creates a shortened attention span. Okay? Compulsive checking, reduced ability to tolerate silence, a constant itch for stimulation. I leave my phone, for anyone listening who knows me, if I don't text you back right away, my phone isn't on me 24/7. Okay? A distracted brain often becomes a reactive brain. And they want you to react. They don't want you to stop, think, and respond. They want you in that fear reaction mode. They want you offended. The one who's offended is the one who is that person who's actually right and correct. Okay? There's this other part of our brain. It's called the default mode network, the DMN. The DMN, it is a thing. This is the part of the brain responsible for self-reflection, long-term planning, meaning, okay, making meaning, and moral reasoning. So, no wonder we are in such moral decay, because we're so distracted. And when I say moral decay, I'm specifically talking about the real 7 deadly sins, not the ones in the Bible. The real 7 deadly sins that are really immoral: don't murder, don't rape, don't assault, don't steal, don't trespass, don't coerce, or knowingly lie. The ones that are in the Bible are put there to keep you in a state of contradiction and internal conflict, because it's okay to have pride. It's okay to have anger. It's okay to have a rest day, a slothful day. Okay? It's okay to lust for something, and that's not just always in the sex sense. I lust for my coffee every morning. Now, if I was drinking 5 pots of it a day, it probably would be bad for me. The 7 deadly sins are a warning against success. Without the ability to self-reflect, to have any self-reflection or introspection, there is no forward growth. If you can't ever admit you're wrong, you're basically turned into a narcissistic sociopath. Compulsive lying. Ends justify the means. Fear. It's from a state of fucking fear. So overstimulation from all these things shuts down the DMN. It shuts it down. And when that DMN, the default mode network, goes offline, a person stops thinking about who they are, what they want, what really matters, and what's happening around them. And we're all one. So what's happening to someone else, it's happening to us. And we're giving our consent for it to happen to us if we're okay for it happening to others. And when I say these things, it's devoid of any political or religious affiliation. A distracted brain becomes an unconscious brain. Okay? Number 3 with a distracted brain is it affects your stress response system. Constant digital noise keeps the nervous system in a low grade fight or flight. Think of all the fear porn you're constantly seeing. I don't think mainstream news agencies, should no longer be able to report political theater. Anything going on politically should be addressed at a local level, and all people should go in person to address it. That's what so-called town hall meetings are for. It should be kept. All the political fear porn that people throw out there and give their sovereignty away by voting for some idiot that's going to save them, and they're all working together and they're not going to save you. They're going to enslave you. That's all they've ever done throughout all of human history. That is the constant for over 10,000 years of human history, back way past Mesopotamia, is the human condition of slavery. Okay? So this constant fight or flight, it's gonna create irritability, and here's the big one: it creates apathy, emotional numbness, and basically decision fatigue, where you don't want to do anything. And I know how this feels. I'm not immune to it. I had this problem this morning. I really did. I didn't know if I wanted to get up here and talk for 55 minutes. I don't know who's listening. Is it making a difference? You know what? I don't care. I'm doing it anyway. A stressed out brain in this manner becomes a obedient brain. Okay? The news is paid programming. I'm going to take a sip of my coffee. So what are the natural law implications of this? Natural law requires 3 things. Okay? I should say, living in balance, living in adhering natural law principles requires 3 things from human beings. That's awareness, responsibility, and right action. And the distraction, all the distractiontainment, the distractions destroy all 3. Okay? 1, your awareness. You cannot perceive truth when your attention is that fractured and that low attention span is there. You won't be able to perceive the truth. Then there's number 2, responsibility. You cannot take responsibility when your will is so weakened and overstimulated. In fact, we've been raised in this way where the new generation, from the millennials on forward, have all been taught to advocate their responsibility to some authority figure. Thereby, let's be the victims in school, and whoever can be the bigger victim is the one that's going to be seen as correct and right and sided with. And if there's a fight and someone initiates, in school, let's just say, and kids, when I was growing up in the 80s, we got into fights. The one who throws the first punch is the one who's at fault. We could have a disagreement vehemently and go our separate ways. If you initiate physical harm or physical violence, you're the one who's at fault, but they'll suspend both kids. What does that teach the victim? And what does that do to the one who's the victimizer? It emboldens them more to do more victimization because they're never going to be held accountable. They can leave guns out with teenagers upstairs. They can hit women and get away with it and be drunk and high and armed all the time. They don't care. The third thing, right action. You cannot act in alignment with natural law when you're exhausted, numbed, and overwhelmed. Between the work schedule that most people have, the constant influx of being beat up on the news with everything going on, real tragedies that are happening in the world, yeah, it can kind of get you. And here's the thing, a distracted human being is not bad, they're just out of alignment. And when enough people fall out of alignment, society collapses into confusion, dependency, chemical dependency, any kind of dependency, and external control. A distracted population becomes a population that can be ruled with very little force through voluntary compliance, okay? And they always seek voluntary compliance. But that voluntary compliance is always at the end of the underlying threat of violence, and it's always present. When I was a use of force instructor and a defensive tactics instructor in a law enforcement capacity, any cops out there listening to me can tell you this, what is the lowest level on the use of force continuum? It's uniformed officer presence. Okay? Or uniformed military armed presence. There is a threat of violence there, but we're seeking voluntary compliance. Okay, dudes. Sure, gotcha. No problem. Yeah, it's voluntary. It's voluntary. We're being voluntold. Okay? And this is how authoritarian systems exploit overstimulation. Authoritarian systems, they have no need to censor the truth. They only need to bury it under enough noise. And here's how the overstimulation becomes a tool of control. Flood the mind with trivialities, and people will never get to the core of the issue. When people are like overwhelmed with these outrage cycles and these celebrity traumas and these sporting event spectacles, I think back to 2020. Yeah, I didn't want to. They bring Mike Tyson back to fight, Roy Jones. I got utmost respect for those guys. They're two of the best boxers, in history, in my opinion. Nothing bad, but these guys are older. Why are you bringing them back out to do this spectacle? And then all the fixed fights that are out there where YouTube kids are fighting trained fighters and beating them, then they're not fixed. Get out of here, man. They're spectacles. Okay? Then there's viral trends, manufactured crises. Okay? That's called false flags. They're made up. So what ends up happening is people lose the ability to track what actually matters. Okay? It replaces community with digital substitutes. And honestly, real community creates resistance. A digital community creates bullshit mouthboxing, and it creates dependency. Okay, people who feel alone are easier to steer through the algorithms. It exhausts your nervous system. That's number 3 on this next list. A tired population does not rebel. And I'm not saying rebel through violence. There's all kinds of ways to rebel against the stuff that's happening, and you'd be surprised at how many people who are trying to do a good job within government systems at the county level, at the local level, that they're on your side. They'll rebel with you. Okay? A tired population won't do that, though. It doesn't question. It doesn't organize. It doesn't dream about freedom. It just scrolls. Okay? It rewards passivity. Like this post, share this meme, click this button to show support. Digital activism gives that feeling of participation without any real-world effect. Okay? In the modern gladiatorial games, entertainment is disguised as engagement. Okay? It keeps people having this overstimulation through authoritarian encroachment. It keeps people emotionally reactive. Okay? A predictable person is controllable. And here's the thing. I won certain battles in my adult life, non-violent battles, of course, by being unpredictable, but by first being a little bit predictable. And just when they think I wasn't going to change directions, I did. And that's what allowed me to win over some pretty nasty bad people. The authoritarian systems, they don't need to break people. They only need to distract them long enough that they'll stop caring. So how do we build a sovereign nervous system and have better pattern recognition? Okay? A system or a consciousness that cannot be hijacked. It has 4 pillars. Number 1 is stillness. Silence is the antidote to overstimulation. 5 minutes of intentional stillness a day begins rewiring your brain, okay? The vagus nerve. Meditate 5 minutes a day, or sit there quiet and still in nature 5 minutes a day. And it'll start to restore your attention, your discernment, and it gives you some kind of emotional regulation, so you're less reactive, okay? Number 2 is embodiment. A distracted mind lives in the head. A sovereign mind lives in the body. This is why I said you got to get out of your mind and into your body through breath work, yoga, cold exposure, a walk in nature, strength training. Go for a run, a bike ride, anything. And these will help regulate that vagus nerve and restore coherence and some actual self-reflection, or the ability to reflect upon anything. See, too much self-reflection is if you're reflecting on your traumas and I need to heal this and I need to heal that. There's a shadow side to that. And the shadow side is at one point you gotta admit, I'm as healed as I'm gonna be. And thanks to that level of healing I'm at, I can handle new traumas a little bit more efficiently. But this is a never-ending cycle of different traumas we're going to have. Can you handle them better? If you're constantly saying, I need to heal, I got to do more shadow work, I got to do this universe is going to say, okay, we're going to give him more to heal about since he likes to heal so much. You understand? That's the law of attraction. There's a balance in even that, in my opinion. So you remember that digital connection cannot replace that connectedness you have with another live human being, co-regulation, empathy, accountability, and belonging. A sovereign human being is never isolated, okay? They try to isolate you. Talk to anyone who's ever been gang stalked. Talk to any enemy who wants to do something. They want to isolate the target. You know, the way certain inmates are treated at times, they get put in the hole, they treat you a certain way, and you'll start to act a certain way. A sovereign being never does this. They act as they always do because they're always in alignment with knowing who they are, no matter the circumstances. And you have to have some kind of purpose. Your purpose in life is the ultimate shield against distractions. Also know when to take breaks from that purpose. Hiatuses. I see a lot of people in the freedom community who take them from time to time. I've had to take a few here and there. I'm kind of the urge to take another one, which is why I really didn't want to do the show today. Like I need to heal for what's happened over the last couple of years, and not to heal, to just take a break to turn off my mind from it. Because you can't stay constantly engaged in trying to help others who don't want to help themselves, and trying to wake other people up who are asleep to start looking around at what's really happening. Quit talking about politics. That's not the problem in our world. Politicians do not cause the world's problems. And politicians and politics will not answer the world's problems. Those things are symptoms of this profoundly sick society that does not know how to live by the golden rule, not to do unto others that which you wouldn't want done unto you. It's really simple. 6 and 7-year-olds understand this. By the time we're in our 20s, we no longer do. Because we've been mind controlled not to. Our minds, our brains have neuroplasticity. We can be deprogrammed and reprogrammed. And that's what's happening. That's why they call it television, tell lies to your vision, programming. You're being programmed. You're being influenced by everything you see and do. By everything you listen to. But when a person knows who they are, what they stand for, and what they're trying to build, or are building, distraction starts to lose its power. Purpose helps to focus the mind. I know this from past experiences. I've written a couple books. When I was really focused on getting the book done, it got done. And you should, I lived in the moment. You don't always have to be involved in some kind of violence or a dopamine type thing going on to live in the moment. Have a purpose, a good purpose in service to others. Because that kind of focus is what's going to strengthen your willpower. And love under will. Love is the law under will. Love is the law under courage. And that will is what's going to restore sovereignty. So, there's a closing line, but it's not exactly the closing line. But I wanted to close with: a distracted society is not a free society. A sovereign society begins with a sovereign nervous system, not a fragmented one, without all the static. And sovereignty begins with your attention. So, something sort of like a call to action, something that you can do. It's just an exercise. If anything in today's show hit you, if you feel that pull in your chest, that spark of recognition, that moment where something inside you says, yeah, I've been asleep at the wheel. I'm going to ask you to do one thing, to try to do one thing for yourself. Just one. Put your phone down, turn the noise off, step outside and breathe. Feel your body. Smell the air around you. Look someone in the eye and reconnect with the world that's actually around you. And understand that that fragmentation and sovereignty aren't going to be undone in just one single leap. It returns in small, deliberate acts of attention. It's sort of like if it took you 2.5 years to gain 30 pounds, you're not going to exercise one time, eat a salad, and lose that 30 pounds in a day. It don't work like that. You do it in bits and pieces. See, if enough people reclaim their attention, then the world changes. So, before I close today, I want to leave you with something real, something you can actually do. All right? And this is not a theory, it's not a philosophy, it's a practice, it's a challenge for your attention. Here's the challenge. It's simple, but for many people, it's not going to be easy. Try going 1 hour without your phone. Try going 1 day without your phone. Turn it all the way off. Okay? See what it feels like to be quiet and be rid of that. Go find some real human connection. Talk to one person in person with no screen between you. Eye contact, presence. 5 minutes is enough. Let your biology remember what human connection feels like. Okay? One act of intentional stillness. Sit in silence for 3 minutes, just 3. No music, no scrolling. No stimulation. Let your mind remember what sovereignty feels like. Close your eyes. Take a couple of deep breaths. Bring your awareness to your breath. Bring your awareness to the sounds of nature going on around you. Identify what bird that is. Be totally in the moment with whatever's going on. You have to turn your brain off and get away from the scripts. Okay? One question to ask yourself before you go to bed tonight, ask, where did my attention go today, and did I choose it to be there? Okay? If you do these 4 things, even if you do them imperfectly, you will feel something start to shift, and your nervous system will soften. Your mind will sharpen. Your presence will start to return, slowly but surely. Self-reflection and introspection may start to sharpen, and you will realize something powerful. You are not as distracted as they want you to be anymore. You're not as powerless as you've been told. You're still here. You're still in there. So, the world doesn't take your freedom all at once. It takes it one notification at a time, one distraction at a time, one moment of unconsciousness at a time. But the opposite is also true. You reclaim your freedom one breath at a time, one choice at a time, one moment of presence at a time. Excuse me. Sovereignty isn't a revolution. It's a return to who the fuck you are. A return to your body, a return to your mind, a return to your attention, a return to yourself. And once you return to yourself, no system, no screen, no spectacle can pull you off your center again. So take the challenge, reclaim your attention, rebuild your nervous system, reconnect with the world that's actually around you. Notice what's around you, because a society of sovereign individuals is the one thing distraction can never defeat. All right, man, until next time, stay safe. Nothing but love. Peace.